Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the McGonagall Boxing Podcast. Let's get straight down to it, shall we? So obviously the big talking point as we move on to the week is Woodley Paul and Tommy Fury. Now, I've sat back a few days. I've tried to be impartial. I've tried to listen to lots of different sides of the argument, for and against Jake Paul, for and against Tyron Woodley. I had it 5-3 to Jake Paul, but that doesn't mean he's the better fighter. He's not. That doesn't mean he's a better boxer than Tyron Woodley. He's not. What that means is Jake Paul is no mug. For sure, he's got good trainers and he's talented. He's a naturally talented athlete. There's no getting around that, and he deserves amount of respect for sure. But Tyron Woodley, whenever he stepped on the gas, dominated that fight, and you could see Jake Paul pretty much dancing around the ring to survive, and I get that. Totally understandable. I'd never been hit like that before. Especially round 4, when Tyron Woodley started to time him. And I thought the fight may well have been over there and then. So credit to Jake Paul. You know, he showed balls, didn't he, for sticking in there. Because he got rocked, he got buzzed. And, he survived that round and he was smart. He just danced around the outside. But I just don't get, and this is a valid point, why Tyron Woodley is so gun shy. I mean, he's got the power, even at 39. He's got the hand speed when he wants to. He just hasn't got what I call a great jab. He didn't use that enough to set up that big right hand. He was too obvious, too pedestrian-like. We could all see a mile off. He was just trying to throw the one big haymaker with right hand. And Jake Paul, even a free fight novice, could see that. But why wasn't he throwing more? Was he worried he's going to blow out? Maybe. I know he hasn't fought in a boxing fight. Yeah, but he's shown in UFC he can go 5 rounds of 5 minutes. So he's got to back himself. He's telling me, and in the world that he's in great shape. Prove it. Throw some punches. He just didn't set off, did he? And as soon as he did, he had Jake Paul in all kinds of trouble, but then he backed off again. So he dominated round 4, and then he sat back. And then obviously he tried to go for it again in round 8. I gave him round 4 for sure. Nearly a 10-8 round, but not quite. I gave him obviously the last round 8. And I gave him round 6. But he took his foot off the gas in round 5 and in 7. And, the first couple of rounds was embarrassing. I mean, what was he doing? Was he waiting for Jake Paul to tire or to land a haymaker? I don't know. It was very strange from Tyron Woodley. He needed experience in that corner. He needed a boxing coach to read the riot act to him, saying put it on him, close him down like he did in round 4. But where was that non-stop pressure throughout? If he'd done that, I have no question he would have got Jake Paul out there. But Jake Paul has got speed. He countered. And when he was hurt, he threw back. But he's acceptable with that uppercut, isn't he? And Woodley started to time him beautifully in round 4 with the uppercut. And then obviously when Jake Paul was right about the uppercut, he threw the right hand and caught him. But a strange fight. Both, earned big money. Jake Paul 3 million, Tyron Woodley 1 million. Sold out Ohio 15,000. Was it good for boxing? Well, let's be honest. The world was watching, wasn't it? I mean, he did big pay-per-view numbers. They're talking, 2 million? That's big numbers. And the world of MMA are watching. There's no question. Jake Paul is smart. He goes after MMA fighters, and he gets that crowd, as well as the boxing crowd, as well as the casual sports fan, into him. So he draws big money, and that's why Showtime Boxing and, BT Sport have got involved with it. They're smart. They know it draws numbers. Is it good for boxing? Yes and no. It's not elite boxing by any stretch of imagination, and it is sad in some ways that these guys are earning more money than, you know, seasoned, hardened fighters, for sure, who've been fighting all their life. But it brings a huge amount of eyeballs to the sport, and you pay what you're worth. Jake Paul gets their numbers, so he rightly deserves that payday. You know, that's the way it is in boxing. So, I know Tommy Fury's taken a lot of stick as well for his performance. Wasn't ideal, let's be honest. Fighting a much smaller man, he wasn't used to that. He had to punch down, and that's not easy. People are saying he hasn't got the power. Well, he looked like he had good, decent power in his last couple of fights. Yes, it was a bit of a step up. I'm not denying that. But this guy really was, you know, a sparring partner. You know, and he's more of an MMA fighter, isn't he? A wrestler. So, of course, he's good at grabbing and holding. But you know, it wasn't a great performance. I think he's first to admit that. But there were a lot of things as well. You know, it was 4 rounds rather than 6. Got changed overnight. You know, he's fighting, like I say, a much smaller man. He had to get used to punch down. I think Anthony Taylor got in his head a little bit. You know, he put it on Tommy verbally. Tommy was out without his dad. His first time in the States, different time zone. You know, climate. There's a lot to be said for that. So don't be too harsh on Tommy Fury. It wasn't a great performance. You know, people saying he showed a lack of power and lack of poise. Maybe. But, you know, poise will come with experience, power, something he needs to work on. Some say he's over-muscular, so he's going to gas out. Well, we don't know that yet. I mean, he seemed like he wasn't tiring. He just didn't have the sting, and he couldn't really get off, you know, on Taylor, who grabbed him, held him, and was elusive and small. And, you know, it was awkward to fight, awkward style. And he was game. So give Tommy Fury time. He needs to learn, he needs to grow. I like to see him back in the UK. He needs his dad in his corner for sure to tell him how it is. I think his dad would read the right act to him early and got him more aggressive in that fight. But, you know, 4 rounds is not much. You know, you can't be too harsh on Tommy Fury for that. But, yeah, a lot of learning. He says he's not the finished article. He's not the finished article. He had a very short amateur career. You know, he's playing catch up, but he's still young enough, still good enough. Look, Conor Ben, Tommy Fury shows me that he's got that hunger. He's always in shape. He's always in the gym sparring. He's determined. Give him time.